This is Monacle 24.
こちらはモノクル24です。
From London, this is Monacle 24.
It is 18:20 in Canberra, 15:20 in Singapore, and 7:20 here in London. Playboy, the magazine known for its bunny logo and photographs of nude women, was created by Hugh Hefner in 1953. There was no date on the first cover in case there was never a second edition. Playboy's circulation has dropped from 5.6 million in 1975 to about 800,000. That's according to the Alliance for Audited Media. Now, the magazine that was a rite of passage for a certain type of American man and helped move sex into the mainstream is to stop publishing images of naked women. Playboy's being redesigned, and from March there'll still be women in provocative poses in the print edition, but they'll no longer be fully naked. We're here to analyse this is James Hyman, who's founder of the Hyman Archive here in London, the world's largest collection of magazines. And I think, in fact, you've got every issue of Playboy there ever was, James.
Pretty much. I'm missing about maybe 8 or 9, but I don't have the anxiety anymore. They will be filled in time.
If you take the nudity out of Playboy, what's left? What does the publication do that other mags are not already covering? Excuse the pun.
Like any hot-blooded testosterone male, I will look at Playboy for the articles. No, I'm serious. Apart from nudity, that's what you have. You really did. James Bond's was serialised in Playboy. Ray Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451 came out in 1954. A lot of really, really good articles. It sounds a cliche, but it's true. Great interviews. John Lennon and Yoko Ono's, I think, last ever interview was published after, sadly, John Lennon was shot in 81, so 80 rather. You do have cartoons, humour, lifestyle pieces. It really wasn't just about the nudity.
But there are a lot of other magazines doing that kind of thing.
Absolutely. That's the point. Look, they always had competition. US, they had Penthouse and Hustler. In the UK, you had Paul Raymond's prolific porn output. Then they had the lads mags in the 90s, your FHMs, Loadeds, Maxims. I would say for Playboy that nudity, excuse the pun, was a staple of their, success. It really was. Who wouldn't confess to wanting to see Madonna, Kim Basinger, Kim Kardashian, Bo Derek, Marilyn Monroe in their birthday suits? That was, I'm not going to lie, it was like, oh, wow, kind of a sneaky glance. That was one of their main appeals.
Yeah, well, presumably this is because of the rise of the net. You're only ever a click away from any kind of sexual activity you want.
But you see, I've been analysing this, thinking about this. I think that's been around, that threat, for a long time. And as I've just said, you had all those lads mags, which were far racier. Magazines like Vice have come up. The internet, this is not a new phenomenon. That has been around for a long time. I just think maybe they've become tired and they need to invigorate themselves.
Well, on the website, they already dispensed with nudity online, didn't they? How did that affect sales?
They dropped, but I don't think it was just because of that. I really think that, fragmented market, so many magazines out there, so much competition in that sector as well for the man's lads magazine.
I'm wondering how culturally relevant pornographic magazines are, and indeed porn in general. If things like the Pirelli calendar, for instance, is changing its focus, not so much nude women any longer. Do we still want this in our lives?
Depends how it's framed and how it's put. I think, as I understood as well, Playboy will feature a certain amount of nudity from March 2016, but it will be maybe as arty as it used to be in their 50s, 60s and 70s issues. So I don't think we need it, but it's there and it can be beautifully done.
You were talking about some of its competitors, and I know that Penthouse was its most famous competitor, I think.
Gone.
Well, that was the thing.
Zoo. I think on the day that Playboy announced this, was it Zoo or Nuts folded as well?
Yeah. Why? Why is this happening?
I do think there is that. It is there. It's freely available at a click, and maybe men are not just going to pay for those magazines, that they can literally see it come up in their feeds in Facebook and all these websites. They can just see all this material for free, even without the click, actually, just in their social media feeds.
Well, and perhaps is that one of the reasons? Just looking at the funding of Playboy, I know that there's a lot of Silicon Valley money invested in there. Is this to make it more a social media platform ready?
You would hope so. It needs to change. As I say, it's tired. It's a tired magazine.
Playboy Brazil and Germany sticking with the old format, though, I believe.
Interesting.
Yeah, well, the logo, of course, the famous bunny, enormously valuable, even in places like China where the magazine isn't sold. So, that's going to be a potential business saviour, isn't it? Because
it goes beyond its magazine. It does, events, clubs. It's used, that's a very valuable part of its licensing.
What about profit? Is the magazine making any money?
As far as I know, I don't know. It's as you just said, I think it was even actually higher. I think in November 72, they were 7.2 million and now it is to about 800,000. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm wondering now about the target audience and also the core advertisers and whether the change of tack will impact on that source of advertising revenue.
I think it's hard. I think it will be like, sad to say, something like the NME, which has ended up free, which is going to find it hard, which is struggling. I do think Playboy is going to find it very, very hard, even with these changes.
Yeah, looking back at its glory days, it was once enormously influential, as we've said. I love the story about the judge who ruled that denying blind people a Braille version of it violated their First Amendment rights.
Correct, in 86. I mean, I think it started that issue in 1970. Yeah, and in 86, it was with the Library of Congress. They won that case. So amazing.
And as you've said, of course, the quality of the writing's never been in dispute. Margaret Atwood, Haruki Murakami, wonderful interviews.
Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Scorsese, all the directors, everything. Yeah, fantastic. Seriously, their literary content was fantastic.
And presumably that's not going to change.
I would hope not.
Yeah. Let's look at some of the most famous women who've graced the cover. Marilyn Monroe, of course, was the first.
1953. I think that was a licensed image, if I remember correctly. I don't think that was an actual photo shoot. That was just put into the magazine, absolutely.
Madonna's been there, Sharon Stone, Naomi Campbell.
Yeah.
Do you have a favourite?
No, I like them all. I mean, again, it's the whole, excuse again the pun, the body of work, all of them. But, I mean, there's been tons, hasn't there? Kim Kardashian, Kim Basinger, Bo Derek.
A lot of very beautiful women. And Pamela Anderson has done it now, I think, 13 times. So she's been chosen to be the very last cover girl. What can you tell us about her previous outings? I mean, because how different can you look 13 times on the same cover?
More tattoos, black and white, colour, different locations.
Yeah. Well, the last issue, I think it is out. The last unclothed issue, that is out today. Pammy on the cover, centerfold. I think I can't remember who it was. I've got a note here about who's in Christy Garrett in the middle of the magazine. Sad, are you?
I'd be sad maybe if the magazine actually stopped, but then also on the flip side, happy that I won't have to keep collecting it. But yeah, I guess it is the end of an era of sorts. I don't, that's just the way it goes.
You won't have to keep them under your bed anymore.
This is true.
They can be out there loud and proud. Thank you very much, James Hyman. Thanks for joining us on The Globalist. And to hear more from James, you should tune in to Monacle 24's print industry review show, The Stack, because he's a regular contributor there.